Good morning, all, and welcome to today's operator meeting. As always, questions will be answered at the end of this meeting, so please feel free to put them in the chat as they come to you. First up, we have Sabrina, who will be presenting on renewable energy program coordination. Sabrina, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Sienna. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. I think I've got some slides. Okay, good morning, everybody. My name's Sabrina Trask. I'm the manager at ECMC of the Cumulative Impacts and Energy Transition Unit. Hopefully some or all of you are familiar with Senate Bill 24-212, which was signed by the governor last spring. This is the Renewable Energy Projects Act. I want to caveat these couple of slides with this is probably more important messaging for me to get to the local and tribal governments, maybe a little bit less important for oil and gas operators, but I know that some of you are also looking at doing solar projects, wind projects, and battery energy storage projects. So this might apply. So quickly, Senate Bill 212 requires that, or based on the state's identified needs, Senate Bill 24-212 passed with the goals of developing a skilled renewable energy workforce based on renewable energy around wind, solar, and battery energy storage. This is to help reduce, to meet Colorado's greenhouse gas emission reduction goals. Also looking for nature-based solutions to mitigate impacts of climate change, and recognizing that in order for us as the state to meet those reduction goals, we're going to need to triple our energy production in both wind and quintuple our production in solar. So next slide, please. What that means is that ECMC is going to be working on that in a brand new capacity. I want to make it very clear that ECMC does not have any regulation or jurisdictional authority to permit wind or solar or battery energy storage projects. Permitting and regulation is up to each individual local government and tribal government entity. So we don't regulate it. We are just mandated by this new law to provide technical support. Because we have expertise in surface permitting, and because we have expertise in public outreach and the coordination necessary between different entities and getting a project like this through all the hurdles. So ECMC is going to be working with the Colorado Energy Office and Department of Local Affairs on two specific mandates. First, to develop a repository of codes and ordinances around renewable energy projects. These are commercial energy projects. So these are not the kind of small projects where an oil and gas operator might want to put some solar panels on their pad to run their lights. This is more commercial large scale project work. That repository will be done by June 30th of this year. And then following that, submitting a report to the General Assembly by September 30th to talk about these new processes that could be developed. Next slide, please. Specifically for local governments and tribal governments, upon request from you, ECMC is able and ready to provide technical support. That support could be on individual project proposals if you receive or a permit application or interest from an entity seeking to develop a project like this. We have resources available to you now. We can help review permit applications, do a surface assessment, surface location assessment, help you with stakeholder collaboration and input. And this could be collaboration with CPW, CDPHE, PUC, BLM, State Land Board, other local governments, electric and utility providers, surface owners, the public. We also have services now available to you where we can provide technical specification review, reviewing best management practices, cumulative impacts considerations, help you determine through the proper channels, potential grid connectivity, that sort of thing. We will also be available to make recommendations to applicants on their permit applications and recommendations to any boards or commissions that need to review the project. And then concurrently, we have a new program set up to provide support for local and tribal governments in developing your own permitting and planning resources around renewable energy projects. Next slide, please. So who is that? We have a brand new person here at ECMC, and I do see him on the screen. Pete, I don't know if you want to wave your hand or something. Do you want to just do a quick introduction of yourself?
Yes, can you hear me okay? I'm on a new computer here.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, thanks for that intro, Sabrina. My name's Pete Denlevy, and I just started yesterday, but just really excited to be here and to work with the team and get up to speed on everything. And so thank you for all the welcome words of welcome.
Thanks, Pete. We're definitely glad you're here. So here's Pete's contact information, both his email and his state cell phone. And I think Sienna, these slides will be available at the end of today's meeting, and we can be sure to send these couple of slides out to the LGDs and the tribes a little bit later today as well. So that's all I have. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. Next up, we have Dita presenting on methane emission reduction program updates. Dita, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Sienna. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
Perfect. Good morning, everyone. I am the air quality specialist at ECMC, and I am also the principal investigator for the Methane Emissions Reduction Program, or MERP for short. Next slide, please. I did a presentation here a few months back. This is just a quick recap of the program. ECMC is a proud recipient of a $12.6 million federal grant to mitigate methane emissions through plugging marginal wells. The funding provides an opportunity to help well operators voluntarily identify and eliminate methane emissions from their low-producing wells. The program will reduce greenhouse gas emissions, improve local air quality, and reclaim well sites. We have been busy planning and building this program for the last few months, and I am excited to present some updates to you. Next slide, please. Our MERP webpage is now live on the ECMC website. The URL is on top in blue. To get to the MERP webpage, you can go to the ECMC website, click on regulation in the green bar, and then click on MERP in the blue bar. And hopefully you can see those pictures directing you how to navigate to the webpage. Next slide, please. This is a screenshot of the MERP webpage. You can find information about the program, its history, and eligibility and prioritization of wells for the program here. We will be continually updating the webpage. Next slide, please. The MERP application will open on February 4th, and it will be open for 60 days, and then it will close on April 5th. The application and application guidance document will be posted on the MERP webpage. The program has already generated a lot of interest from operators, so be sure to get your applications in if you are interested in the program. If you have any questions about the MERP, please reach out via email to dnr_ecmc@state.co.us. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you so much, Dita. Next up, we have Stephen Schwartz with Cumulative Impacts and Enhanced Systems and Practices Implementation. Stephen, go ahead and take it away.
Absolutely. Can you hear me all right?
Sure can.
Awesome. Alrighty. Hello, everyone. As I promised in December, I am back today with an update on our forms and guidance related to the CI-ESP rulemaking. Next slide, please. So let's just jump right into it. With regards to the Form 2B, the form is currently in testing, aiming to release next week or the week after at the very latest. And just want to pause here for a second and say that we are working 100% on getting the testing done for this form. And if we get the testing wrapped up this week, If the testing is wrapped up end of day Wednesday, we will push the form live Thursday. We are not going to arbitrarily hold this important form up till next week. It will go live as soon as it is ready. And I just want you to understand how close we are to being able to push the updated form to be live. And I extend a sincere appreciation to everyone for their patience as we have dealt with many new forms being developed over all of the rulemakings over the course of 2024. Again, once the 2B is released, that will be noticed on the website. Moving on from the 2B, there's the 2A. This updated form will be released in early February. With regards to the 2D, this will be released in the eForms system. This will be released at the end of January and will be released with enough time to meet the February 15th deadline for Form 2D submittal outlined in the rules. And then finally, the Form 2F will be released in web forms and currently targeted for early March. Next slide, please. In terms of the guidance related to these, the cumulative impacts guidance related to the Form 2A, it is in final internal review, and the release should be imminent. As soon as that final review is wrapped up, we can push publish on that guidance. For the Form 2B, the guidance will come out after the updated Form 2B is released. And I will provide a what's new walkthrough at the February operator meeting. With regards to the Form 2D, the guidance for that form will be released immediately after the form is pushed live. And finally, the target for the Form 2F guidance is it will come out with the new Form 2F in early March. Next slide, please. So again, like I said, watch for announcements on the website. We are not going to arbitrarily hold the release of these forms until the next operator meeting or anything like that. We will post to the website once they're released, so that will be your main source of information to know if it's been released. And since the Form 2B is going to be released, it could be as soon as this week. After it's released, if there are any questions, whether it's technical issues with the form or guidance related, I don't understand what this question is asking, please email them directly to me and I will get back to you as soon as I can with the answers. Next slide, please. And then finally, just like I said in December, if you are looking to submit an OGDP or CAP, but the respective forms haven't been released yet, please contact Cumulative Impacts and Energy Transition Manager Sabrina Trask for guidance and further information with submitting the OGDP or CAP project you're working on. Next slide, please. So one thing I did want to quickly walk through today was something we have released on the website, and that is with relations to the Barrens and 2015 swap habitats. Next slide, please. So the 2015 swap habitats, what are they? So SWAP stands for State Wildlife Action Plan, and these habitats are different than the high priority habitats or HPH that were outlined in our 1200 series, which is also related to the HPH maps. HPH are mapped territory and ranges for specific avian, terrestrial, and aquatic wildlife species of concern, while the SWAP habitats are broader, more ecological systems habitats. And this starts to focus in on biological resources beyond wildlife, getting at vegetation and invertebrate species. So because the HPH and the SWAP habitats are different, they will likely overlap and cover different areas when viewing them on the map. And I want to also focus in on something here, how the rules work. The 1200 series outlines different operating requirements for locations in and near HPH. There are not equivalent rule-based operating requirements for SWAP habitats. The distance to and disturbance of SWAP habitats is exclusively being captured on the 2B and Form 2F and to be discussed in the cumulative impacts analysis on the Form 2A, with the guidance for that coming out soon. Again, this data is being collected to better understand the cumulative impacts to biological resources, while we've already been capturing the data related to HPH. Next slide, please. So I also mentioned barrens. What are barrens? So barrens habitats are specific areas of higher concern due to the rare and sensitive vegetation that only live in these unique habitats. Because these habitats, these barrens habitats, are more specific to some of these different vegetation species, they will sometimes overlap other swamp habitats due to the different criteria used for determining what a barrens habitat is. Next slide, please. So what about the future? We've gotten a couple questions about why the 2015 swamp habitats, which we are using in our rules. When you adopt rules, you can only use what is currently available. What was currently available when the cumulative impacts and enhanced systems and practices rulemaking was being undertaken were the 2015 swap habitats. So that is what is used and codified in our rules. The question becomes then, so what about future rulemaking? The statement of basis and purpose for the cumulative impacts and enhanced system of practices rules does specifically identify that a future biological resources working group will meet to make further recommendations regarding biological resources. Additionally, later this year, it is anticipated that a 2025 SWAP report will be released. Given this, it is anticipated that there will be a future rulemaking to incorporate the recommendations from the Biological Resources Working Group, which will likely include incorporation of any habitat mapping changes coming out of that 2025 SWAP report. However, until then, we are using the map layers for barrens and SWAP that are currently available on our ECMC GIS online interactive map. And so I might want to talk through a little bit about those layers right now. So next slide, please. So in our rules, the specific habitats are listed in Chapter 3, Table 4 of the 2015 SWAP Habitats report. And this is all of them directly copied right out of Chapter 3. So I want to walk through briefly how we're looking for you all to incorporate these into your future 2B submittals. So next slide, please. Starting with the aquatic habitats. So you'll find on our website under Parks and Wildlife, there is a new aquatics habitats layer. And this is the layer that you would use for understanding which aquatic swap habitat different features fall in. And what we're asking here is a very simple, if the feature falls in the area, that is what the feature is. For example, the Eastern Plains is all the area on the eastern side of the state. If there is a river that falls within the Eastern Plains aquatic habitat area, it is an Eastern Plains river. If there is a stream that falls in the Eastern Plains area, it is an Eastern Plains stream. This is how we would like you to identify these areas for the aquatic habitats. Now let's get into some of the terrestrial habitats. Next slide, please. So for the terrestrial habitats, you need to zoom in a little bit more about a 4 or 5 township area in order for the layer to be visible. It is also under the Parks and Wildlife layers options on our GIS maps. And as you can see here on the left, each of the layers is individually able to be toggled on and off. And as a reminder, barrens in particular will likely overlap other swap habitats, but by having these individual layers, you'll be able to walk through them and determine your distance to and acreage disturbance of each of them individually. I also want to mention that these are available for download to your own systems to do your mapping internally on our website. Next slide, please. And speaking of the Form 2B, this is the section of the Form 2B where we are asking for information regarding the barrens and swamp habitats. These 2B data fields ask the distance to and the amount of acreage disturbance of barrens and swamp habitats within the area of evaluation for a proposed location. There will be drop-downs that will have all the habitats names listed there to select from, no having to try and deal with weird spellings or the proper hyphen here or there. And what you'll notice is that this is very similar to the data fields that we ask for information for HPH. When we were developing and updating the Form 2B, we wanted to have as much continuity between the functionality of what we had in there, while also incorporating the new features of the cumulative impacts and enhanced systems practices rules. So I believe that is it for me today. Thank you very much. And again, look for the website for the 2B release. And if there are any questions, technical guidance, etc., please direct them to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Next up, we have Tessa Sorensen from CDPHE. Tessa, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can share yours.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sienna. Okay, for those of you who may not know, my name is Tessa Sorensen. I am the energy liaison for CDPHE, and I use she, her pronouns. So let me talk to you today about the updates that have been made to the consultation BMPs for CDPHE, and also some updates and kind of advice in response to some of the concerns we've received on Colorado and virus screen. So first thing, CDPHE has their own consultation process. That consultation process, whoops, is actually, I'm going to unshare my screen real quick, Sienna, so I can get this on the proper monitor here, so I'm not looking sideways at all of you. Give me a moment, please. Here. Okay. Okay, can everyone see my screen now?
Yes.
Good, okay. All right, that's better. So we do have, let me get back to where I was. Okay, so CDPHE does have discretion kind of on when we consult. So this is a CDPHE exclusive process. We can consult actually on any ECMC application, and consultation on items other than OGDPs or CAPs is actually very rare. We typically will agree to consult when requested by ECMC or the operator, or a relevant or proximate local government, or by local residents directly impacted by the application, say within about a mile. So all CAPs and all the OGDPs associated with them will require a consult by CDPHE request. All other OGDPs are really evaluated to determine the necessity of the consult on various factors, all to do with the potential risk to public health and the environment associated with this specific application. So we do use a list of best management practices as a basis for all the consultations. Many of these BMPs may or may not apply to a specific application, and we may ask for more that are not in that base list. We have done a full revision on all these BMPs. Now, we're really not expecting to significantly change these again until about 2026 or so at the earliest. So just to give you an idea of what the revision history is, that initial revision started with kind of 19181 with the mission change and was really implemented heavily in March 2022. In August of 23, we revised it to get rid of duplication of existing regulations. We shouldn't be asking you for something you already are required to do under other regulations. In December of 23, we cleaned up some of the language to make it clearer. And now last month, we actually did a full revision for formatting, clarity, removal of redundancies to existing regulations. A good example is things like one of the BMPs was asking for the operator to not use PFAS in their hydraulic fracturing fluid. That is actually required. So that is been removed because it already needs to be done. A lot of the language has been matched to the ESPs, the Enhanced Systems and Practices, which are part of the cumulative impacts rules. So that is going to be kind of a seamless comparison for those if they were similar. Not all of them match the ESPs, though. There's some additions in there about air monitoring and some additions on environmental justice. So I'll talk about that here. So what are the big changes? About 7 items were removed for redundancy because they already exist in regulations or current laws. We switched the numbering of the BMPs for that sheet just so that they're prefixed with the year and you always know where your application is committing to on that one. That's just for the process of consultation. It doesn't actually go into the formal letters that we submit to ECMC. It has been reorganized by project phase. So if you are having one of these discussions with me as CDPHE for the consultation, we can step through the order of the actual phases of the operations so that it makes the conversation a lot smoother and faster, I think. We have actually revised the categories to make a little more sense to what these are asking about. And all of the BMPs that are similar to the new CI rules, Rule 316, Enhanced Systems and Practices, have matched language to them. We split apart gas, oil, and water pipeline takeaway, so they're separate commitments to make it very clear. And the PFAS section was combined down into 2 items, also matching the ESPs. So there's some new operational BMPs in here. The new ones include reducing the use of natural gas burners for production equipment when possible. This excludes ECDs. This is really referring to if you have an operation where you have a lot of separators with burner heaters underneath them, not necessarily seeing if you can actually turn those off during summer months, especially during ozone season, because you actually will emit less with that. So it is a good way to do it. Some other approaches could be operational designs, such as instead of having a heated separator for each wellhead attached to it, having a bulk 3-phase separator in there to reduce your emissions on that too. That effort is not an ESP. If you are managing to do that, it will actually help you reach your NOx intensity goals, your targets. So that could help you as well. So, and I think that would actually, even if you're not actually applying for a new OGDP, we would not have this conversation. So if you're an operator that is simply managing your production facilities and not drilling anything else, this still would help you accomplish your own NOx intensity targets. So that's something to keep in mind for operational changes. Another one is providing access, siting locations, and power if required for air monitoring equipment at the request of CDPHE or ECMC. This is referring mostly to things such as the Camel and the Moose that CDPHE operates for the air division. Now, the power is very unlikely to be asked for because the Camel is the only monitoring station we have that does require power currently, external power. And it is not going to probably be used for much longer. So that is an unlikely ask. In terms of siting locations, we do understand that access and siting locations is not exclusively your responsibility as an operator. It is partially, but it also, of course, is the surface owner. So asking for this BMP, if you do commit to it, means that you would allow it. It does not say that the surface owner could not restrict that and say no. If you said yes and the surface owner said no, ultimately when we do ask, or if we asked, then you would still be compliant with this BMP. So that is understood by CDPHE. You can't control that necessarily. So, and the third item is that you'll collaborate with CDPHE and ECMC. Basically, if we have our monitoring equipment and we measure a spike in emissions or something like that, we will contact you and ask you if kind of what was happening that day. It may be something perfectly normal. It may be a scheduled maintenance event. This is really meant to ask the operators to commit to being kind of complete and quick in the answers on that so that we can resolve those situations quickly. So there are new environmental justice best management practices here. There's 6 in total. We'll talk about the first 4 and then the other 2 in a minute. So the first 4 all have to do with sharing and maintaining a publicly accessible digital information source. This could be a web page, it could be a social media channel. The approach is completely up to you as operators on this, and it will have information including these 4 items. The first item is very simple. It's a primary contact method for complaints and concerns. Not just the emergency phone number that's on the sign at the site. This is something that can be digitally searched for on that so that you could have that. Many of you already do this, and that would absolutely count. So this is a pretty easy ask. The second one is to put notices of venting up on that particular information source so that that could be searched. People could query and know that when something is happening near them. Maps of the pads, facilities, and truck routes. These are basically materials you already present to ECMC when you apply for this, and being able to just post those on your website as well so that it can be viewable by the public. And having a form of asset retirement plan on that website. Now, CDPHE does understand this is a very tall ask. The public, we think, does have, of course, a right to know how long you think something would last theoretically, or at least hope it would last. They certainly have no right to your confidential business information. And there's a very sharp line between those two, right? And it's a very fine line in some cases. So not talking about profitability or reservoir engineering decline curve. That's something that is proprietary to your business if you decide to make it so. And therefore, CDPHE would never ask you to put something up that is not public information. However, if you are able to redact certain bits of the ARP or something similar to provide a kind of perspective on how will this field be developed, how long will it last, and if you were not able to manage it long term, how would the plugging of that be addressed? So that is one of those things. And we understand that's a big ask. It's not something we expect to be committed to all the time, but it's something that we are asking for. The last two, the first one, I know this is a lot of text, so I'll summarize for you, is creating an opt-in push notification system, such as emails or texts, so that basically if you have a community meeting, you could have this be an opt-in. You'd of course have to manage this system, and we do understand that is an expense for you. So none of these are required, as a reminder. These are just best management practices for environmental justice that we would ask for. And basically giving notice to venting or maintenance activity. This is really meant to increase the awareness of the public of what is happening around them so that they are not surprised or concerned over much. ECMC and CDPHE both receive calls and concerns and complaints when some of these maintenance activities are happening, simply because the public didn't know they were going to happen. This is not meant to completely cure that, but it is meant to help the public have a way to actually do that if they live near one of these locations. And the final is a somewhat unique ask, which is a post-approval public listening session or community meeting. This would really only apply if you do have residents within a mile of your location. If you don't have that, this would not apply at all. But you are already required under the new rules, if you're subject to them with your application, to have a post-completeness community meeting. This is a post-approval community meeting. So it's already been approved, it's going to happen, and letting people know exactly what to expect is really what that is about. So that is it on the new consultation BMPs. I do want to speak on Colorado EnviroScreen. There have been many operator concerns about EnviroScreen because 2.0 was released. So it is out there, it is active, and it is not what you want to use for your regulatory items for AQCC, for APCD, or for ECMC. So you don't want to use this for air regulation. You don't want to use this for ECMC regulation, not yet. So in order for that to happen, the EnviroScreen 2.0 would need to be referenced in the rules for AQCC and ECMC. They are not yet, and you can expect that they will not be for at least another 4 months minimum, probably more, simply because in order to have a rulemaking, you have to give a 60-day notice, and they don't take effect until 60 days afterwards. So you have 120 days at least, because that has not been announced or sought right now. So do not use EnviroScreen 2.0 for any of this. There are a couple of links here. The ECMC GIS online map still uses EnviroScreen 1.0 layers. The APCD Regulation 3 EJ tool still uses EnviroScreen 1.0. On their screen is the link to the EnviroScreen 1.0 archive and the direct map link to it. And I'm actually going to stop sharing, but share my website screen so that I can show you where that is through the actual website itself. Give me a moment while I do that. And after that, that'll be just about all I've got. Okay, what you are looking at here is the Colorado EnviroScreen 2.0 page. It's the main EnviroScreen page, which is just cdphe.colorado.gov/EnviroScreen. This gives you the link to EnviroScreen 2.0. And there is, if you scroll down, you'll notice there is a download the data thing, and there's a other resources. And at the bottom of the other 2.0 data resources is the version 1.0 archive page. If you click on that, it will take you to the old archive page menu here. So there is the version 1.0 map is here, and the original documentation is here. So this is how you get to the EnviroScreen 1.0 map if you need to do it through CDPHE's site. And it will load up the tool that you have used so far with that and are familiar with. With that, let me go back to my slideshow. Oops. I'm sorry, it's not in full screen. Excuse me a moment. So, in summary, if your OGDP applications are subject to the new ECMC December 15th of 24 rules, our BMPs that duplicate any of those ESPs that are relevant to your application will not apply and will not be asked for. Because they are already required by ECMC, we will not have a conversation about things that ECMC already requires. You should consider maintaining an online information source for the public or adding to it if you already do have one. Continue to use EnviroScreen 1.0 for all of the ECMC and AQCC/APCD processes. Do not use Colorado EnviroScreen 2.0 or the disproportionately impacted community map, which is also part of 2.0's release, for your operations yet. If you're interested in 2.0 or the disproportionately impacted communities map, there are actually a couple of live demos that you can go to on January 22nd at 4 p.m. and February 25th at 10 a.m. They're both virtual and they will have a Q&A afterwards. So I do encourage you to seek that out. That is all I have.
Thank you so much, Tessa. I'm going to start with reading the questions that have come in order. If you have any additional questions as these ones are being answered, please put them in the chat. First question, who can apply to MERP? Dita, I believe this is yours.
Yes, that is mine. So operators that own wells that meet the definition of a marginal conventional well and also have a demonstrated financial need can apply to the program. And there is more information about that on the MERP webpage. And if anyone has any questions about their eligibility, please feel free to reach out to that DNR email or to me directly.
Thank you so much, Dita. Next question is the 30-day post-approval listening session 30 days from the commissioner hearing or 30 days from the issuance of the order approving the OGDP? Tessa?
Yes, thank you, Sienna. That would be 30 days from the issuance of the order. That is really what is intended there, and it is because of the that's kind of when the permit clock starts. So it's after the permit basically is approved formally. Good question.
Thank you so much. And it looks like the final question is, will ECMC please consider adding the well name column back to back into the Form 7 production reporting template. It is a challenging to review production data by API number. Gita, Sabrina, Stephen, I'm not sure which one of you should answer.
Actually, if we could get Chris Eisinger, I think that I saw that he's in this meeting. He might be able to provide a little bit more about the Form 7 than I.
Chris, you're able to unmute yourself.
Great. Thank you, Sabrina and Sienna. Yes. So when you import your production template into the form, there is the well name will populate in the table in the Form 7. I will discuss with the development team and others and the production team about adding the column back into the Form 7. Anytime you have a additional piece of information like the well name besides just the API number, it creates a potential place for errors, and so that's why we're hesitant to do that. But I will discuss that as an option, and we'll let people know if that's added back in. So thank you for that suggestion.
Thank you for that, Chris. It looks like everything has been answered with all the questions that were put into the chat. As always, thank you so much for attending today's operator meeting. And as a reminder, the information should be posted to our website by the end of the week. And if you need to be added to the operator list, my email is included on the slide and will be included on the slides that are posted to the website. Thank you all so much and have a fantastic rest of your day.